Firstly, I want to start off by thanking our hosts. So the guys from Hamatech, represented today by Nick, Adam and his colleagues. We really want to thank them for being part of this. We've got a pretty good relationship with you guys now and we value that. We've done some great work to date and we look forward to that continued partnership moving forward. Also, don't forget, clearly represented by Ben, their CEO, who will be talking shortly. And also the guys at Estimate One also. So this has definitely been a joint partnership to get this up and running. So we all thank you for coming here this evening. Also our media partner, Build Australia, and also to, importantly, our industry sponsor for the evening, Connector, who are represented here this evening by Matt Love and Tracy. So thank you guys for your support, much appreciated. Why are we here this evening? Not only here to experience some of the good food and drink on offer, but also from an industry point of view. I think the construction industry has seen a lot of change in the last 12 months and COVID clearly was the catalyst for a lot of that. But out of COVID and coming out of that environment for the last 6 to 12 months, the construction industry has clearly undergone quite a significant change. But I think, and also the panellists will agree here this evening, a significant positive change for the industry. And that positive change is really driven at the moment by tech adoption. So the guys that we've got here this evening are going to go into a little bit of depth in terms of what the landscape looks like for the construction industry this year. We speak a lot what the construction industry is going to look like over the next 5 years, 10 years, long term. But what's happening within the construction industry this year, fresh out of the COVID environment. So looking forward to hearing from each one of these panellists and getting their thoughts and ideas. I'll start off with a little bit about us from a PayApps point of view. So just indulge me for a couple of minutes. So PayApps is our cloud collaboration platform that focuses on the progress claims process within that construction cycle. So from your subbies submitting claims all the way through to you guys assessing and approving these claims on the head contractor level. When I refer back to sort of that tech adoption component, the progress claims process has been one of those processes within that construction cycle which has been quite manual in terms of its process. We solved that problem. We automate a lot of that. So, you know, potentially what used to take hours in terms of your CAs, PMs, processing these claims on a monthly basis, now takes minutes. So it allows you guys, your staff, to be able to focus on more high-value tasks rather than those low-value tasks of having to spend hours trying to make sense of all these claims coming through on a monthly basis. So that's really the cornerstone from a PayApps point of view, what the solution does. And that's complemented a lot by also to a number of the panellists that are up here at the moment, Ben from Hamatech, you know, Michael from Estimate One, in terms of streamlining a lot of processes that have generally been quite manual in nature, you know, from a process point of view. I'm not going to talk too much longer because I'm more keen to hear from these gentlemen up here. Firstly, I'm going to introduce you to Lee Jasper. Lee probably doesn't need any sort of introduction. Lee has been in the construction industry for a number of years, very prominent. I'm very excited to hear what he has to say. He's going to cover off a number of topics around the construction industry, funding, tech, and all that side of things. And then as progressively, we'll go through each of the panellists and get their thoughts on their areas of expertise. So without further ado, Lee, I'm going to pass the microphone over to you.
Thank you. Great to see everybody. Great to see a lot of friends. Great to see you too, Chris. It was my gag. He wasn't even listening. He missed my gag anyway. I've got more material. So, yeah, so great to see everybody together. I think I might start by saying that, you know, in Australia and particularly Melbourne, I think we have an enormous opportunity ahead of us in construction technology. When we started Aconex back, well, it's 20 years ago, so I'm showing my age, going way back when dial-up modems were how you accessed the internet, so it gives you a bit of a feel for how long ago it was. We thought there was an opportunity to take Australian-based technology to the world, and I think we thought back then, and it played out, that the Australian construction industry, so those you aren't in tech but actually out on site doing the real work, are actually really good adopters, early adopters of technology, and that by working with the Australian industry, we could build great product and then take that global. And it was a good journey. We did a lot of interesting things over the years, crazy things. Went to markets like Dubai. If I can just use one or two examples, we went to Dubai back in 2000. Well, I went to London 2003, Dubai about 2005, and Rob was over there. He's the other founder of Aconex. I was on my way to visit him in London and stopped off in Dubai. Came out of the airport, and there's more cranes I'd seen in my entire life. And that was just the airport. Hadn't even got into town. Like, geez, we better get over here. So we started to build the business internationally, build into a range of different markets. Then took the business into the US. So we actually avoided the US for a long time. Some of you are starting to build into the US. We avoided that at the time because we saw a lot of competitors, but one by one we worked out that what we were doing was actually pretty different to others over there. So into that market. And then, built the business through the US, took the business public, and then Oracle acquired us in, 2018, I guess, 2 years ago, 2 and a bit years ago. We weren't looking to sell, so this is quite public, but we sort of had a responsibility to our shareholders, and they put in an offer that after saying no multiple times, we kind of had to say yes. So here I am. I'm sort of out of a job now, and keeping busy doing other things. It's somebody's playing a violin over there. It's actually harder than it seems. I know I'm not asking for any sympathy, but it does feel a bit weird when you've been running a business for a while. Actually, I just had lunch with Rob today, and unfortunately having lunch with Rob meant having a few drinks, and so sort of been on the beers all afternoon. So if I say anything silly, it's Rob's fault. But anyway, so we we're doing, Rob and I are investing in a number of businesses in the sector. We're looking to, well, in a sense, actually doing Aconex, it's quite hard to invest in other technology businesses in construction because of the conflicts, and particularly as a public company. But since leaving Aconex, and Rob finished up about 6 months ago, we're looking for great technologies. We're investing in a number of the businesses here, and investors in a number of the businesses here. And we just see a huge opportunity to do the next wave. We still think, even when Aconex was acquired, I thought we were still at the very start of this technology journey in construction, only just getting started. And so I think there's huge opportunity to do more, to really take great technology out of Australia to the world. And I'll talk about a couple of areas we're looking at, but I just think, again, we're just getting started. So we're excited about the opportunity in construction tech, and particularly out of Australia. And I think we can lead the world. Arguably, we do lead the world already in the innovation that's happening in the sector. A couple of things I'm looking at. I like boring. I like smart, and I like connected. And what I mean by that boring is automating boring shit. Like when we started Aconex, we basically automated document control, which was a process where you, back in the day, 20 years ago, you had a rack full of drawings. You maybe had a whiteboard, probably was a piece of paper on a stick-up board where you'd mark things. You may have had a spreadsheet if you're a bit more advanced. So what we did was go in and help automate what was really boring work that everybody hated doing. And so some of the businesses here are automating really boring stuff, and get computers to do what we do badly as people, and allow people to focus on other things. You don't automate boring stuff, no. So, somebody automate something boring here. And then the other thing was smart. So one thing about that is like using data, AI. And AI, to be honest, I'm a bit sceptical of but machine learning, like using computers to do what computers do best, which is looking for patterns, applying those patterns, and using lots and lots of data. So being able to connect data and use all of that. And then the third area, when I say connected, I mean basically being able to link up the supply chain. So when you can get businesses, in many ways it's kind of what Aconex did, but there's lots of opportunities in that space to link up the supply chain, to bring together all the different businesses in construction that have to work together. I think these businesses have somehow worked out how to do it, but they do it pretty inefficiently. And by linking businesses into a common platform, again, there's lots of ways of doing that, but by creating networks and network effects, you really build some great businesses. So these are the three areas Rob and I look at. We're excited about what's happening here and excited to be able to sort of join some of the other businesses that are growing and help out along the way. Probably enough for me for a bit.
I'll formally introduce you, Ben. It's okay. Yeah, you deserve an introduction. No, that's fine. Thanks, Lee. I mean, some great insights there from Lee, and I think just on a couple of Lee's points around how the market is positioned. From a Contech point of view, there's a lot on the next frontier there. A lot of exciting stuff, and absolutely concur with what Lee's saying around automating. Excuse my French, boring shit. But that's what the construction industry, in terms of where it's heading, is all about. That automation piece and streamlining processes and finding those, process efficiencies is becoming critical. Without further ado, Ben Leach from Hamatech, guys, CEO. Welcome. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thanks for being part of the part of the panel.
Thank you very much.
Firstly, Ben, give us a bit of an overview of Hamatech for the crowd here. I know probably doesn't need an introduction, but I think might be beneficial for you to give a bit of an overview and what you guys specialise in, and then we can fire off a couple of questions.
Thanks, Nick. It's good to see a lot of clients here tonight. Hamatech is a cloud-based. Effectively, we call ourselves an operational efficiency platform. So sorry, Nick, if I'm sort of breaking free from that. But really our specialty is in the safety space. I can see a lot of safety professionals here tonight. It was born out of a concept when I was a safety manager on site, sort of sitting there doing a lot of the repetitious bullshit. I was hoping that I could say that we're really sexy and not boring, but there is the reality of it is that we do automate a lot of boring shit. But to the betterment, hopefully. Can see Rubes and Kate in the front row here, and hopefully they'll sort of shout to our testament that through being able to work with the industry for the last sort of 6 years, we've sort of seen a really significant evolution in that space. We spent a lot of time educating, I guess, the market, and again, I'm probably going to call a few people out, but I can see Richard Frizz over in the corner over there. Kane sort of took a big punt on us early in order to sort of get us going. And it gave us an opportunity to work with subcontractors and really educate the market around what the value proposition was. And so now we sort of sit here with probably 200 plus sort of builders on board that utilise our platform. We've expanded over into the US. Lee's bang on point in that the US is a very difficult market to break into and has its own idiosyncrasies, and the reality is that they probably don't do it as well as what we do it over here, and there's been a lot of learnings that we've had to take over there and also help educate the market over there. So a little bit of a snapshot about what we do, but won't bore you too much longer on that.
Yeah. With COVID, from a safety point of view, that's probably where you guys have come into your own from a solution point of view. What changes in approaches have you seen to safety from builders, whether it be large or small? What have you seen? What are you seeing out there in the industry at the moment?
Yeah, well, when COVID first came about, and I can, talking to our sales guys out in the back, that a lot of it sort of slowed down a little bit. And I think there was a lot of reservation around what was going to happen in the industry. So we sort of saw it flatten a little bit. But then what it also meant for us is that we needed to be agile and we needed to pivot. And there were some things that we needed to be able to do to be able to respond to that. So obviously things like having to do automated checklists on site that people were then having to go and sort of say, have you been overseas in the last 14 days, etc., and doing that manually. Had Steve Ties, Richard sort of ringing me every Friday afternoon saying, hey guys, how are we with that functionality? How are we with that functionality? And we had to basically put our whole team on that for 3 months to be able to respond to that, and so that was that was challenging. But then as a result of that, we sort of saw a number of builders that sort of said to us, "Hey, we're never going to come on board. We love our process. We love the way that we do it." And had a CEO of a company based out of Canberra, which will remain nameless, but he sort of wrote to me and sort of said that nothing like a global pandemic to sort of make us sort of make a change. So I think that's what we've seen, and probably the tech people will echo the sentiment that it has probably seen an acceleration of adoption in technology. I can see a number of other sort of tech providers here tonight. That's been our experience anyway.
Yeah, that's a good summary. In terms of from a builder's perspective, with these new regulations that have come into play, how are you seeing builders adapting in this new environment at the moment? What are you seeing on that front? And what maybe do you see, in the near future with these continued restrictions and guidelines set by the government?
Yeah. Well, when it first sort of came about, I thought the industry responded really well to it. So the industry basically got around each other, in the union included, the builders, technology partners, to work out solutions as to how we could actually sort of get through it. And so, we were sort of pleased to play a part there. And I guess what we've seen, and a number of you here that are probably dealing with this at the moment, which is the mandatory requirement around sort of QR codes and needing to be able to sign into that. And sort of that being dropped on everybody at the last minute. We've again had to pivot in that space to be able to respond, because the government has looked at it and sort of seen that the way that the construction industry has responded is probably far ahead of what they've actually got in place. And so, what we've seen, especially in this last month, is that the government's looking to tap into the way that construction businesses are doing things. And we've had to play a pretty big part in being able to support that.
Thanks very much, Ben. Appreciate your insights. Pass the microphone over there to
me.
Yes, you're ready. Yeah, you're up. You're up. Probably another person, another business that doesn't need much of an introduction, but Michael Ashcroft from Estimate One. You've got a few fans.
Too many Estimate One people here, obviously.
I think that's the loudest cheer so far. So. Michael, same as Ben. If you just want to, you've got a special. Yeah, you've got a special.
We're trying to use up some old business cards, so I've popped that in the front there.
Well played, well played. Michael, like Ben, if you just want to give a bit of a background of yourself and Estimate One, then I can fire off a couple of questions here too.
No worries. So my name is Mike Ashcroft, one of the co-founders of Estimate One. Andrew Ritchie is the other co-founder, somewhere out the back there. Yep, there he is. And carrying on the same theme here, we are in some ways automators of bullshit work. I started my career at Kane, funnily enough. It's a very small kind of industry, both construction and construction tech, especially in Melbourne. But yeah, in effect, what we provide is a tender management workflow solution for commercial construction companies, and that backs into a kind of marketplace, if you like, of subcontractors and suppliers that can provide quotes back to the head contractors for the price for the jobs that they're working on. And so, maybe to use Lee's framing, there's some automation work. There's a bit of smarts that goes on, which helps builders make good decisions in that process. But also, the collaboration piece, I think, is the real pivotal bit, which is that we just connected the majority of the market in Australia together around that particular workflow. So yeah, there's about 500 head contractors in Australia that use the platform, and about 50,000 subcontractors and suppliers across Australia.
Let's delve into that subcontractor part a little bit more. Let's unpack that a little bit more.
Yep.
Why has the market become so competitive in that space? Is it because of COVID, or is it not COVID related?
Well, I mean, I would have brought more stats in my brain probably if I knew you were going to ask that question. But I think what tends to happen, and this is somewhat anecdotal, somewhat data driven, and we've seen a few of these things happen over the course of the last 13 years. I think we've been doing this, but subcontractors and suppliers sometimes tend to panic in market circumstances in which they have no kind of certainty around what's coming around the corner. And so you can end up in a scenario where, subbies are competing for jobs that they wouldn't normally want to compete for, just simply to kind of buy work, if you want to call it that. And also just there was less work coming through the pipe in 2020. and we saw that in tenders. You know, we saw it drop off when the market got the wobbles in kind of March, and everyone wasn't sure what was going to happen. But it did come back, but it just didn't quite come back to the same level. And if anything, I think people are probably a bit more worried about what's coming through in 2021, because it's like, did the pipeline of work that would normally kind of carry through from, you know, design, consultant work, all that sort of stuff, has that carried through into 2021? And so if it hasn't, there's a massive hole in work kind of coming around the corner. And so those kind of market dynamics all give rise to, you know, subbies and suppliers not knowing what's coming around the corner, and so they compete harder, cut costs, and cut price, I should say. They can't really cut costs. But it's, you know, I wouldn't say that that's great behaviour, but it happens consistently when the market gets tight.
So with that competitive market being what it is at the moment, how can builders and subcontractors position themselves for success within that competitive market?
I don't know, we should probably get some subbies up here to talk about that. Is there any subbies here? Oh, no one's going to put their hand up now.
Give away these trade secrets.
Look, I mean, I guess maybe this is something that, an ambition that we can talk about as a business, is something that, you know, we would like for the industry to kind of get over this myopic obsession around price, because more often than not, price is, you know, it's too one-dimensional to be making your decisions around. You know, you need to be considering things like safety. You know, we were talking about this last week. You need to consider about actual subcontractor performance. You know, what does that look like over time? You know, things like financial health, so on and so forth. And so, I guess where I'm going with this is that, if anything, I would go back to basics and look at trying to cultivate good subcontractor and builder relationships, which I think everyone knows that that's probably the right thing to be doing, and you just kind of get distracted with the cheap price. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, you want to be working with subcontractors and builders, for that matter, that you have comfort that both of you are going to be able to do what you say you're going to be able to do in your contract. And so in difficult market circumstances, I mean, you feel for people, right? Like, I mean, you want to keep your business in operation. Do you cut price to win a job at no margin to keep things going? Maybe you do, but like long term, that's a kind of terrible strategy for the whole industry. And so we're constantly looking for ways to kind of, I guess, increase the range of criteria that you kind of consider in a contracting decision. Does that sort of answer your question?
No, it does.
In a roundabout way?
No, it does. And a couple of you guys have mentioned already that collaboration piece. That's where it becomes crucial between, you know, head contractor and builder. And if that relationship is, you know, in synergy and working as best as possible, it's going to deliver the best outcomes, not only for the head contractor, but also for the, you know, for the subbies too. So
and the clients, right? Like,
and,
I mean, otherwise,
it's a byproduct. Yep.
That's at the end of the day, they're the one who pays everyone's bills. So if we're cutting corners and delivering a shit built environment, you know, no one's winning, and we're all going to be out of a job.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Loud cheer for Andrew, guys, again. Michael, sorry. Andrew's next.
Oh, you've got one.
Have you got your microphone there?
Bit of a macabre note to kind of finish on, but anyway.
Yeah. Next up on the stand is Andrew Devison from Capital Group. Now, Capital Group is a tremendous story, and I say that because they're using pretty much every single solution that is up on this stage at the moment. Where was the cheer from the Capital Group, guys? Come on. Tom, I know you're about somewhere.
I think we've got a few in the crowd too.
Yeah. Michael, you still got the loudest cheer. Yeah. These guys are a tremendous testament, success story to that tech adoption journey. I'm not going to say too much about it. I want Andrew to tell that story. So Andrew, a little bit of a background, please. Yourself, the business, and the exciting growth that you guys have experienced over the last 12 to 24 months. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, so from what I can glean, these guys automate bullshit, and as a builder, I talk the bullshit. So, so Capital Group, I'm the co-founder of it with another guy, Dave Caputo. We were both directors at Multiplex, so we started almost 3 years ago. Fast forward today, we'll turn over about $200 million this year, got about 86 staff, a workbook of about 400 million. And we also set up a BIM business as well, like a BIM consultancy business, because that's what you do. When we started, we've got an interesting background because we're working for Multiplex, both of us, and it's a big tier one, awesome company. But also, being such a big multinational business has the way it does things, and the way it does things isn't always very easy to change. Ben and I worked together at Boulderstone, and Ben was truly one of the worst safety managers you'll ever experience. If I can be perfectly, it could not be more true. Yeah, that's what inspired him to change it. But the systems can be very regimented. And when I was a director at Multiplex, and Ben and I were obviously mates and worked together, and he was showing me Hammertech, and it looked amazing. And I was like, oh, that'd be really cool, because we were still doing a lot of the folders of paperwork and filing and all that sort of stuff. And we thought, maybe we could bring this in. But then big companies, and I see a couple of people here from John Holland, and I'm sure it's experienced that other people have in big companies. It's really hard to change a system across a multinational sort of scale. So when we started up Capital Group 3 years ago, we took the view of smart people, smart work, and we see it. We have to be very competitive. Like I love the price isn't the issue. It sounds awesome, but the hasn't been my experience thus far. So so we're always looking at how do we be more competitive? How do we be smarter? And the other thing for us too is, being a startup construction company, we're actually looking to attract talent. So a big thing for us is actually, all that shit work that you have to do at your other company, you don't have to do that here, because we've got a software platform where you don't have to do that. So day one, we give you a brand new iPhone, we give you a laptop, and we go, no, you don't have to do all that shit work, because we're gonna do that. We're gonna automate it. And that is actually a big sales pitch for us. And it's something that we feed back to our staff constantly is, hey, we're working on our systems. We're trying to get them better, because we think about our user experience. So, we hire all these people and they're fantastic. And then are we going to make them do shit work that's really mindless? It doesn't make sense. So we think it's actually a staff attraction thing for us. The other thing that really drives us too is, I read a book a long time ago. It's I don't know if anyone's read it. It's called Measure. It's called Better by Atul Gawande. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that book. It's about a surgeon wrote it, about basically how in medicine they're really hopeless at measuring anything. Like they just don't really understand exactly what's going on, and they sort of. The point of the book, which I would recommend everyone reads, is if you don't actually measure and analyse the data, you don't really know what's going on. You just think you know what's going on. Construction is really hard to measure exactly what's going on because there's so much shit going on. And I was very interested in that when I first started, when I read the book, and I tried to do some of that measurement stuff, like, measure how much pieces of ductwork that company was putting in against the run rate to see if we were going fast enough. But that took too much staff time to do that. So the cost of the measurement was too high. Whereas now with all these different cloud-based IT platforms, actually we're creating this data that now, if we can analyse it and turn it into useful information, we've got all this stuff. Like Hammertech's a perfect example for us is, I love all the compliance stuff, but I'm actually more interested in the trends of how people are using it to see how behaviours are, because that's a lot more interesting to me than the LTI. I couldn't give a shit about the LTI rate, because that's just, sometimes that's dumb luck. Someone strains their back. That's not a good safety system or a bad safety system. What's a good safety system is our people are using it, they're engaged in it, and we can measure whether they're actually doing that. So that's the stuff that sort of really interests us, and we see the benefit in the context, and that's why, I think fucking almost everyone in this room, we're using your platform at the moment. So if I have to pay for my own beer, I'll be very disappointed. But that's why we like it, because it's we look at the user experience, and then we look at the improvement and the measurement that we can get out of it to drive our own improvement. So, yeah.
Interesting point about what you mentioned about the retention of the talent, or attracting the new talent coming through, because there's a new generation of talent coming into the construction industry, and they're not used to spending hours upon hours trawling across spreadsheets and printing off invoices and sorting through mountain and mountains of paperwork. Everything's now for them. I know I get shit if my Uber's 5 minutes late, my Uber Eats is 5 minutes late. It's all about that now and providing them with the necessary tools to be able to, succeed and do their roles accordingly. So like, again, they're focusing on more high value tasks rather than those low value tasks. So it's a really good point that you make there. Along with the tech adoption side of things for you guys and being so open and adoptive for it, what other advantages have you guys seen apart from the attracting talent, retaining talent side of things? What other key advantages has helped you guys from that tech adoption side of things?
We very simply think it saves us money. We think it's cheaper. So using Hammertech as opposed to, for example, a Hammertech as opposed to a more basic system means that we need less people to do it. So we're just looking, it's cheaper. Estimate One, not to speak ill of Aconex, but if you try and use Aconex for tenders, the actual time, this is why people like Estimate One, the time to download that and transmit it is too long and it doesn't make sense. You need a document controller to do that, whereas you use Estimate One, the estimator can knock that out in 3 or 4 hours rather than, speed to market to do it and the time it's taking, that just saves us money. Yeah. So it's all about, in addition to those benefits, it's just cheaper. Ultimately, we pay a little bit of software licensing, but resourcing is less.
So the ROI is clearly there for you guys.
Not that the other builders will like this in the room, but I was telling Ben, I reckon you're too cheap.
Adam,
sorry,
Adam.
I am not speaking for Kane or ABD or John Hollins, but I look at it and I go, I think of the people you save and what the cost is, and it's a pretty good return on investment for us.
Yep. Let's switch the focus a little bit around with you guys being a builder at the coalface of the industry. What are you seeing from a GAP's point of view still within the industry?
I don't know. The industry is awesome. I love the construction industry, and they do amazing things. You got some builders in the room here, Kane and John Hall. The stuff they do is fucking incredible. Yeah. But also equally, I think if you look from outside too, we're also quite a backwards industry too. We do a lot of stuff in really crazy ways, and I just think the reality is the whole world has gone through an IT, internet technology revolution. Construction will too. It's at the start. To the Lee's point, I think we're at the start. I don't think we're at the end. And there's such big volumes of money in construction that it makes sense for investment into it. So I think there's so much that can be improved in what we're doing, and I think the measurement piece for me, the actual getting the report and the data, we still do these crazy reports where we write things out and we type it into spreadsheets and we get them. It's just ludicrous. Yeah. And we're trying to improve it, but it's just, you look at that sort of stuff and you're like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. And you just, we wouldn't be the only ones just not really knowing what's going on because we can't quite, we've got the data now, but we don't have the information. So I think that's a big space too.
I think the industry is on the precipice of great change. It's undergoing that process. Like you said, still early doors, I think. But I think what you're seeing now is a shift in mindset. At least conversations are being had internally, whether it be at a tier 1 level like a John Holland or at a tier 3, tier 4, even the residential level. That tech adoption mindset is starting to change from a stereotype of, we don't want nothing to do with tech to, you know what, maybe it will help our business. Maybe it will help us grow from a tier 4 to a tier 3 or tier 3 to a tier 2. So some great points. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Keep the applause, guys, going for all the panellists today. It's been great having you. Thank you so much, guys. Much appreciated.